Hello and welcome to this brief video about PLCnext Devices with Cumulocity via ThinEdge. The core of the partnership between Phoenix Contact and Cumulocity is basically the ThinEdge framework, and I'm happy to give you an introduction, what you can achieve with it. To begin with, I'd like to give you a brief intro on the company Phoenix Contact as well as the device partnership with Cumulocity. Next up is a getting started guide. So we will be seeing how to install ThinEdge on your Phoenix Contact device and also how to configure the integration ThinEdge.io. So last but not least, we are going to then explore the device management capabilities that we are unlocking with ThinEdge and how the Cumulocity device interaction will then look like. First of all, this is the global presence of Phoenix Contact. They are distributed across 50 different countries with a number of 13 countries that are actually involved in their production processes. It is engaging basically different verticals as energy, process industry, infrastructure, and factory. And the portfolio starts from very, let's say, basic hardware that's about device connectivity. Then we have the industrial components and electronics and the industrial management and automation. So the last section is going to be the section where the ThinEdge-enabled devices actually are based. The partnership is basically mirrored on both of our websites, right? You can find a description about ThinEdge on Phoenix Contact website, respectively the PLCnext store. And we are also describing it on the Cumulocity website, and you find Phoenix Contact as a device partner. Going to the installation and configuration of ThinEdge, it's actually pretty simple, right? Since you can very easily download the ThinEdge application from the App Store, from the PLCnext store. And secondly, you can just access the web-based management of your device and deploy it via the UI. Afterwards, you are perfectly enabled to configure the ThinEdge integration using Linux command line interface. So there are just very few steps you then have to take over to really establish the connection between your device and Cumulocity. And actually then the fourth step would be to have a PLCnext project created to connect the MQTT client and the MQTT broker that's running on the device. And that's how these two components actually interact with each other. Correct. So now let's look into the ecosystem website of Cumulocity. You can find the partnership described under device partners, and then there is a Phoenix Contact section where all the devices are listed that you can use together with Cumulocity IoT, and also the features that can be used, right? There's a explanation about the features in the Cumulocity IoT functions description and also in the certification document. So these devices are certified to work with Cumulocity, meaning you can use them and use exactly the certified features which are described here. On the PLCnext store side of things, you can find also the ThinEdge framework described, which is connecting the device with Cumulocity. So this is basically what it can do, right? We also have a description of the capabilities here. You see the list of supported devices and a document that also helps you getting started, right? So let's look at what it says, right? You see the introduction of versions and mainly how you can install it. So that's actually how to do it, right? You can just hit the button download, right? Download the file, access your user interface of the device, and which actually looks like that. So it's quite easy to just hit the button install app, get ThinEdge installed, and then you would be seeing that it's installed. Okay, going back to the document. It also then describes how you should set up the connection with Cumulocity. So it's just, let's say, among the standard that ThinEdge supports. So it's just a very brief number of commands you'd be needing to execute. And it's all described in this guide. Next, it's a matter of setting up the project, right? It's necessary to create a PLCnext Engineer project and actually define the MQTT connection and to establish the interaction between the PLCnext Engineer and the MQTT broker of ThinEdge. Connect, and then we can actually see what's going on within the device. So we're building the project, and then it's just we can see how the connection is being created, right? There's a Cumulocity tab that's creating some variables and an MQTT session that's going to be invoked. So we have a publish command for the MQTT client that publishes the data to the ThinEdge endpoints. And we are seeing that live as we're in the debug mode. So occasionally the topics from the ThinEdge MQTT broker pop up, like TEDge/measurements, etc. So that's basically the entire chain of sending the data to the ThinEdge MQTT topic from the PLCnext Engineer project, and then everything from ThinEdge is there and just ready to be used. Right? After doing that, we see data flowing into Cumulocity. So let's briefly hop over to the device management app of Cumulocity. We see under all devices this device which is online, and now we are perfectly able to see the description, right? Which hardware is being used, the firmware version, etc. We also see measurements flowing in, so CPU load and the specific values that are defined in this project. You can also see alarms being sent. We can also use configurations, right? File-based configurations. A lot of these are also already enabled out of the box with ThinEdge after the installation, because those are files that are used by ThinEdge. But it's very easy to extend the file-based configuration. It's just a matter of providing a specific path into a dedicated file on the device, and then you are perfectly able to also manage other files than the ones listed here, depending on your use case. The control tab lists the number of operations we executed. Currently, we have an open SSH connection, which are used to access the device directly to show you the PLCnext Engineer. We have also a firmware version that we can replace. This is invoking the Phoenix Contact standard way of replacing firmware via the RAUC process. So it's really fail-safe. It uses A/B partitioning. We also see services running on the device. It could also very well be that you manage containers that are running on the device. You would be seeing the status and be able to start and stop these containers. It's also possible to manage PLCnext Engineer projects, right? So we have a project deployed at this very moment, but we could perfectly exchange it with another version, right? We can hit the other project and apply changes. Of course, this takes a second until it's actually executed. So let's give it a second. I'm not too sure how many seconds it will need. Okay, that's done already. And now we applied a different PLCnext Engineer project. Very easy, very convenient, and without the UI on the PLCnext Engineer and completely remote, right? We could also distribute a new software across an entire device fleet, very easily doable via the bulk operations feature of Cumulocity. We see events flowing in. These can also be defined within your PLCnext Engineer project. So it's basically up to implementation what an event will be. We also have the ability to set a location. Of course, the PLC is not sending any GPS data, but we can just edit the location by dragging the icon around. So let's leave it where it is, but that's how it works. You can put a location to a device. We can also request log files from the device, and that's pretty similar to the concept of file-based configuration. It's just a matter of defining the path to a file, and the feature of managing log files will pick it up and make it also available to other files. Then a very important component, the remote access feature, right? We can have an SSH connection directly established from Cumulocity with the device. So I need to terminate the other session beforehand. And the connection will be opened in a browser. So there we are. We can also use the pass-through features of Cumulocity to actually route the SSH connection from the device to Cumulocity to your local device. And the way this works is by actually using an active session, an SSH session from your computer, your local computer and Cumulocity, and just entering one of these pass-through endpoints on Cumulocity side. And what you need is basically a tool called Cumulocity Go CLI, and you can very easily create these sessions with Cumulocity. And then after you've configured it, it's just a matter of sending one command. For example, in the PowerShell, it's just the set session command. We have an active session now with this Cumulocity tenant, and we can then very easily tunnel SSH traffic, for example, via port 41100, and use the PLCnext Engineer with the device completely without over the internet, without being next to the device, with all security features being in place, right? So this is completely safe connection that is HTTPS, tunneled through the HTTPS connection. Yeah, so it's just a matter of hitting enter, entering the password, and then we have an SSH connection. We could also configure the configuration to work with a different port, right? Port 443, and we would be, or we are able then to access the web UI and access it again, right? This is what I've shown initially. It was actually also a remote session. So this is the web UI via the remote connection, right? So the remote SSH connection. Okay, that's it already. I hope this was helpful. And again, if you would like to have more details on it, reach out via the sales contact button, and we'll be seeing your messages, or just the general Cumulocity contact form, or on the PLCnext store. There's also a way of reaching out, right? So thank you very much and have a great day.